Welcome back to Capitol Review. Democrats, Republicans, and top Trump administration officials were all under one roof to talk politics with our network and media partners at The Hill and News Nation. 6 months into President Trump's second term, top officials sat down with questions at the inaugural Hill Nation Summit here in the nation's capital. Returning to Capitol Review is Sharatsky Raj. She is the head of audience development and social media for our media partners at The Hill. Sharatsky, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Hey, we're always glad to have you. Let's talk about the summit. It brought together lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. What are some of the headlines from the event that stood out?
That's right. It was the first inaugural Hill Nation Summit that saw a gathering of both sides of lawmakers, both Republicans and Democrats, gathered together at the Willard Hotel in Washington, D.C. to talk about President Trump's first 100 days in office. Now, we heard from DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, who spoke about some of the TSA changes that she's implementing, including the no-shoes rule, which a lot of travelers are very pleased to hear about. She also teased a possible change in the liquid requirements to fly with TSA. So that's something that might be coming. We heard from Peter Navarro, who spoke about the president's agenda and says that he would give him an A+ so far. We heard from David Hogg, who is the former DNC's vice chair, who was ousted in that dramatic move. He says that, there's a lot of angst from millennial and Gen Z voters over some of the Democratic incumbents that are still in office and not taking this new generation of voters seriously. We also heard from Senator Amy Klobuchar, who was talking about some of these cuts to public news services and said that it would be devastating because, she comes from a family of journalists and she knows that a lot of people in her communities rely on this. We also heard from, a lot of these lawmakers who were talking and touting about the president's first 100 days. So a lot of action, and the highlights are available on the Hill's social media and YouTube channels. So I would encourage everyone to go in and tune in to watch the first inaugural Hill Nation Summit.
Well, Sharatsky, given the current climate, here in Washington, did you find that lawmakers were able to find common ground on any of those core issues?
Look, I think the common ground is that, both Democrats and Republicans are very passionate about serving their constituents and making an impact here in D.C. Now, obviously, both, the Republicans were touting the president's first 100 days in office. They think that, all of his policy and the sea of changes that he's implemented are good for the country. And then we heard from the Democrats, where Amy Klobuchar was a bit more critical. She was talking about, some of how these cuts to public funding will impact rural communities. We heard from Ro Khanna, who was critical, but he did say that, he does want to work with his Republican colleagues to find some kind of a middle ground and some bipartisanship in Congress to push forward the agenda of the American public. Ro Khanna also teased a possible run for presidency, but he said he hadn't made up his mind on whether he would run himself or try and push someone else who shares some of his views. So that was interesting as well. But all in all, most of the Republican congressmen and women we had on stage were very, very much in line with the president's agenda and, touting some of his policy changes as good for the country.
Sharatsky, quickly, is it too soon to know the impact of the funding cuts to PBS and NPR?
It is a bit too soon because, it is not a precise model, and we know that a lot of these public funded stations are looking at new ways to get this influx of cash to keep them running. We know a lot of shifts have been made over at NPR where key roles have been changed to look at alternate funding measures now that this clawback has taken place. But what we do know is that this will impact mostly local stations in rural communities. We are already seeing layoffs by these local stations, citing financial uncertainties when this funding does run out. And we know that a lot of people in rural communities rely on their local stations for news, for emergency alerts. So this is surely going to have a huge impact on those rural communities. Now, places like NPR and PBS, because of their name recognition and because of their wide audiences, could have a funding model that's funded by their viewers who are passionate about the service they provide. But some of these local channels will struggle to get that same kind of influx of cash, and so they are most definitely in jeopardy.
Shiraz Kirai, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.